but I'm going to let our guest on the phone tell you himself. So please join us.
Hi, I'm not Marty Levinson.
Welcome, Alderman Stone.
Listen,
Welcome.
I thought the program was next week.
Oh, you know what? First of all, I know it's been a busy campaign thing, but, and by the way, I hate to say it, I originally told you it was next week, and I goofed up. So
Yeah, I just noticed on your email you did say it was this week.
Yeah, but you know what? I just sent it out. I sent it out like 11:40 last night.
Well, we've got your picture on the screen, and we're happy to have you on the show with us, Alderman.
Thank you, thank you. Listen, I'm a little peeved. Should I tell you what I'm peeved about?
Please.
A couple pieces went out this week from the committee for I guess it's for Better Chicago, whatever it is. You know, the one that our mayor-elect is sponsoring. They're telling that I'm against veterans and senior citizens, a class in which I belong in both classes. I'm a veteran and a senior citizen. And it said Berny Stone's against senior citizens and veterans. Of course, the bill that I voted against had absolutely nothing to do with senior citizens and veterans. But but it tells how I voted against giving senior citizens and veterans rides on the CTA. Should I tell you what the bill was about?
Please do. A lot of people have been asking about that. We've already brought it up earlier, and that wasn't actually accurate, and we'd really like to know what the accuracy is.
All right. The bill was a bill that would confirm an ill-conceived act of the state legislature. The state legislator, trying to bail out the CTA, decided in 2007 that they were going to use the Real Estate Transfer Act. I had even written to the chairman of the Transportation Committee in the House, who was also acting on behalf of the Senate, that was the wrong tax, because I told them that there was going to be a recession, and that the Real Estate Transfer Act was an improper use because it would not have sufficient funds to help bail out the CTA. I didn't realize I was going to be Nostradamus and predict the future, and I never realized it was going to be as bad as it has become. But needless to say, in the city alone, the Real Estate Transfer Act proceeds fell more than $60 million. I hate to think of what it fell in the state. So needless to say, it failed to bail out the CTA, and that's the reason the CTA is in so much trouble today. So I was absolutely right, and the act, of course, did not bail out the CTA, and the act was a disaster. But they needed the confirmation of the city council. So I was one of the 6 votes in the city council that refused to vote for confirmation of a bad action by the legislature, and I was proven right by what's happened in the history, because the act turned out to not to do what it was intended to do.
Alderman, can you tell our viewers how that included veterans? Because that's something that they're...
Apparently, a portion of that bailout provided that the CTA had to provide free rides for seniors and veterans. And that, so it had absolutely no direct effect on him, but it was an indirect effect.
Mm-hmm.
So using that indirect statement, they said I voted against veterans and seniors.
One thing, Sonny, can you do a split screen? Is that possible? Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, Alderman. You know, in terms of accuracy, too, on this whole business, she also has a different piece, and she has a different piece, too, that talks about what an incredible spendthrift you are, that you voted on many occasions to raise taxes, and in the fine print, if you look, this is citing one time in 1993, one time in 1992, and another time in 2004. I mean, 7 years ago, you voted to raise taxes, and 3 times in the last 18, 19 years. What an incredible spendthrift.
Well, worse than that. In the 1999 year, excuse me, when we raised our salary $10,000, I was the only member of the city council who refused to accept that raise for all 4 years. So even though we raised our salary $10,000, and even though I voted for it, I refused to accept the $10,000. So I'm such a spendthrift that I didn't take the $40,000 increase. Secondarily, this last raise, with the one I proposed, the only one which I proposed, we raised our salary approximately $4,500. But during that same period we raised our salary $4,500, I have been voluntarily accepting furlough days, non-paid furlough days, and non-paid holidays, and billing on a voluntary basis, because in as much as our salary is prescribed by the legislature, we don't have to take those furlough days. But I've been doing it voluntarily, which means I've been taking a loss of $9,000. So the net result of that salary increase is that I've been losing $4,500 a year. So in the meantime, I'm such a spendthrift that I've been losing money on all of these raises.
Yes, shame on you. And by the way, one of the things you missed in the first half also when we were discussing, you know, two pieces of literature yesterday from out of state and unions, special interests, the whole shot, declared that you have voted to raise salaries 8 times. Now that's 8 times in 37 years. If I was working in a regular business and my boss raised me 8 times in 37 years, I would have walked out a long time before 37 years.
Well, I didn't walk out because I enjoy what I do, and I got to tell you, the opening salary when I was elected in 1973 was $8,500, and it was supposed to be a part-time job. At the time, my only aide earned $9,000, and I was getting $8,500.
Is that Art Herman?
And for 6 years, that's what our salary was. In 1977, I voted to increase our salary. 1978, I voted to increase our salary to $27,000. So I mean, this is a terrible thing we've done. $27,000 for a full-time job, and you know, we are spendthrifts. I got to tell you.
No question about it. Now, you know, how's the campaign going so far?
Well, I think it's going all right. You got to understand, I'm the underdog in this campaign. The so-called machine is against me. Remember, the Democratic committeeman is the husband of our opponent. The mayor-elect is against me. Most of the elected officials, with the exception of the city council, opposes me. But the unions obviously oppose me because I refuse to be their pawn in the city council. And but, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've been endorsed by most of the businessmen on Devon Avenue and Dewey Avenue and California and Western Avenue, which she say they're all against me, but most of them have endorsed me. They've been the heart of my contributions to businessmen. And so, you know, I feel that also that I'm getting the endorsement of the people. And so I expect to be successful on April 5th.
No, I think so too, because you have the people. And as a matter of fact, if you look at your donations, you've got over 100 businesses supporting you. You've got around 3/4 of the members of the city council supporting you. Despite the fact that their new master is for her, they still feel it's important enough to back you because they know who they're getting in you. And anybody who's been watching anything like Chicago Tonight, and I want to talk about that for a second here, is beginning to see what they might be getting, and it's pretty scary. You know, I thought it was interesting when Phil Ponce asked you to show proof, you know, that, you know, about 2 specific subjects, and you hold out a folder, and he says, we don't have time for that.
Well, I was ready to prove it, and you know, she asked me, why didn't you do something about it? Of course we've done something about it. we've had the Corporation Council file lawsuits against the slumlords.
I want to specifically talk, because we haven't touched the slumlords yet in the show. I was saving that for you. Sure, one of her 5 largest contributors is that she listed with one or both of the daily newspapers.
Well, she did it with the Sun Times. She said that Common Management was one of her 5 biggest contributors.
Yeah,
and I've got to say that on her D2 that was originally filed, it listed Common Management. Somehow, mysteriously, that page of her D2 has been changed. It now reads Common Medical. Not that it makes any difference, because Common Medical is the same parties as Common Management.
And
so,
this is somebody with
the names are different,
buildings.
but the parties are the same. But she changed the name. And apparently the check was issued by Common Medical. But that doesn't make any difference. But the only difference it makes is that Common Management receives money from the city. So therefore, she broke the ethics ordinance of the city if she had received money from Common Management. So that's why she had to change the record and show that it came from Common Medical.
And let's also remember that 3 of their buildings, they are 3 of their buildings within the last 5 years that's easily searchable, have been in housing court or the subjects of many 311 calls.
Absolutely.
And before 5 years, we've had, since, part of, in my spare time, I'm involved in some of the camp stuff. There have been numerous court watch cases, numerous citations. They have been leasing to drug dealers and drug users, people with unsavory backgrounds, criminal records, loud music.
All of which she's going to clean up, by the way. She's going to clean up the Devon Avenue. She's going to clean up all the crime. And the joke is that her supporter is leasing to these same people.
Well, she says she wants real change, and real change would be being beholding to the biggest slumlord, bad landlord in our neighborhood. That would be real change.
And he's not the only slumlord she's taken money from either.
No, as a matter of fact, that family is very tight with Amrit Patel and Balvinder Singh. Her husband has actually represented all 3 on occasion in court. And if you take a look at the copy of the Northtown News Magazine, you'll actually see a case number cited that anybody can take and look up in case they have any doubts. I wanted to make it proactive for people to be able to look at the issue and find out that her facts down the line are not true and then some.
Well, even worse than that, her main issue early on in the campaign is she absolutely came down on me on the meter deal. And you know what? Her example was the 2900 block of Toohey Avenue. The 11 or 12 spaces on Toohey Avenue, which incidentally was the only commercial space that didn't have meters for all these years. Now, I didn't order those meters there. I was ordered by the Department of Transportation when we took away meters on Devon Avenue.
We're going to be cut off air in half a minute, so I've got to stop you
in
here.
In any event, she took money from Mayor-elect Emanuel, who received over $400,000 from the lobbyists and lawyers of the meter company.
Which makes her beholden.
How you take money from the meter company indirectly and then criticize me on the meter?
I want to thank you, Alderman Stone. Thank you, Reverend Doug. Thank you, Ahmed Khan. Thank you, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you, Keith McDonald. Thank everybody at CAN TV. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're glad you were able to be here. I'm sorry we couldn't make more points, Alderman Stone, on the subject.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
My pleasure, but she is beholding to these people. If anybody thinks for 1 minute that Deborah Silverstein doesn't owe these people and will vote their way, she will. For an independent voice, vote for Alderman Stone, no question about it.
April 5th.
April 5th, he's pledged no tax increases. Through March 31st, go to Warren Park and vote early. Very important deal to... we need him. If God forbid she gets elected, we're stuck for 20 years with somebody that we're going to regret beyond belief. Alderman Stone has said in 4 years from now, that's going to be it. So the fact is, it's time for, if you're interested and intelligent and all the rest of it, start going now. Thanks, everybody.